This electric mountain bike has the performance of those that cost up to and over $10,000. I built it for just over $3,000. In this video, I'll describe all the parts used and detail the build process so you can also DIY a beautiful carbon, full suspension Emtb for a fraction of the cost to buy one. This is the CEF50 fully carbon lightweight electric mountain bike that I built for a little over $3,000 US, which compares with mountain bikes costing 3 to 4 times as much from the big names like Trek and Specialized. The frame I bought directly from China, right from the factory, using the Alibaba platform. If that's something that bothers you, or you can't wait a month or more to get your bike, then this is probably not the build for you. But if you want to save a lot of money, this is definitely the way to go. This is the heart of the system, the new Bafang M820 motor. It packs a serious punch at 75 Newton meters of torque, yet only weighs 2.3 kilograms. This frame is built to work exactly with this motor only. The frame itself is very modern in geometry. It has a very slack head tube angle of 64.5 degrees. The reach is pretty long, 483 millimeters. The seat tube angle is 76.8. The chain links, the chainstay lengths are 450 millimeters, and overall it's just a nice modern bike that you can build up as either a full trail or even an enduro. The battery is housed in the down tube right here. So this one comes with the battery designed by the factory. It's 720 watt hours, so it's a really big capacity battery, yet the whole bike is actually relatively lightweight. In this configuration, which is really a budget build, it's only 45 pounds. So the battery, to access it though, it's not removable on the fly. You have to actually drop the motor and push it in. So that's one drawback. There are other batteries available, lighter ones. The Bafang has a 410 watt hour battery. And of course, you can probably bring down the build to at least 40 pounds or under with that type of battery. This bike was built on a budget. A lot of the parts, everything from the handlebar to the grips to the brakes, came from Aliexpress, which is another Chinese trading site. You can order from them directly, and it usually takes about 2 to 3 weeks to ship to North America from there, but well worth the wait. I'm going to put links in the description below for everything on here with a price, so you can see whether it's worth ordering those things yourself. So for everything on this bike is brand new except for the suspension. So these I got secondhand. I got them off of Pink Bank. This is a RockShox Yari. It was fairly new when I got it. This is a 160 millimeter travel one, and I think I paid about $200 for this, so it's quite a good bargain. The rear shock actually came off of, it was a takeoff from a Specialized Turbo Levo, and it provides 157.5 inches of travel. And at this one, I picked it up for 50 bucks. So if you look around, you can get some really good deals. But everything else on this bike was brand new, and I'll go through every component step by step. The wheels were custom made. They're Sun Ringo Duroc 35s in a mullet configuration. So 29-inch in the front and 27.5 in the back. So these were custom built from AliExpress. I think I paid $300 for the set of them. And they came with a really nice set of hubs. These cruiser hubs. They have 6-paw bearings on them, and they're really nice and smooth. So everything here was built up and sent custom. Like I could pick the spoke colors, the hub color, the sizing. So I went with a mullet configuration, again from AliExpress. I'll put the link in below. The brakes, I'm using these, I think they're called IlPro E4s. I guess they're kind of a knockoff of Magura's, but so far they're really good. They're only like $100 for the whole set, and they use Shimano pads, just standard pads. And for my little testing that I've done already, they work really well. For the drivetrain, I went with an SLX shifter and an SLX rear derailleur. This is 12-speed, and it came with this no-name 12-speed cassette. I think it's an 11 to 50, and all that. So the three things, the cassette, the derailleur, and the shifter, were only 145 bucks, again off AliExpress, so that was a pretty good deal. For the dropper post, I went with 180 millimeter. The nice thing about this frame, it's got a long seat tube, so you can put a pretty long one in there. 180. I could go much higher than that. There's tons of room in there for it. But I went with this one from AliExpress. It's called an Exaform. I think this company actually does OEMs for stuff, and it was like under $100. It came with a lever, but I upgraded to a P&W because I like the actuation of these. So it works quite well. Again, on a budget, but it does the job. One of the cool things about Bafang is you have a whole choice of displays and controllers. They're all compatible. They use a CAN bus system. This one I went with this LCD one. It does have Bluetooth functionality, so it will work with an app as well. So when I do a full review video on this, I'll go into the app, the Bafang Go Plus app, and it does have, you just set your different levels here. It has 5 levels of assist setting, and you can tweak those in the app. Also, I did get one kind of a minimalist display that's just a little controller here. So I might switch between those. We'll see how I like it. But this frame does come with this little mounting button. Like, you can put a power button in here. You can get a smart one from Bafang, or you can just get a dumb switch. But for me, there's just a metal plate here. I don't really need it because there's a power button on here. But it's nice to have that option. Just like a lot of electric mountain bikes that are coming out now, the cable routing goes through the frame, everything, all your dropper post and your shifter cable and all that, but it enters in through the headset, so it's integrated to here. I guess you love it or you hate it, but I like it. It keeps it really nice and clean looking. The company will provide frames with holes in here if you want to go with the traditional routing, but this is the way I went. I upgraded the headset. The one that comes with has a little bit of an opening here. Maybe it wasn't as weatherproof as I'd like. So I did add this nuke-proof one, which looks a little bit better, and it provides some weather sealing. To complete the build, I changed out, it came with a pretty heavy front chainring, so I replaced it with this Decus one. These are really cheap, they're like $10 or something like that. And some aluminum platform pedals. I also added a few things like this carbon fiber bottle cage, the carbon fiber handlebars, grips, all from Aliexpress, all with links in below. So this is the start of the build process. I've already done a few things just to get going here. The first was I added some paint protection film. I don't know if you can see here, to the major top tube, down tube, the chainstay, seat stay, and it's not full ride wrap. It's just car paint protection film, PPF, that I got from a friend of mine, and I just cut it into a few basic shapes. So it's not like a ride wrap, but hopefully it'll protect the paint somewhat. The other thing too is I mounted the shock already, and I also took apart all the pivot points and re-lubed them and put some Loctite on them, and torqued them. So from the factory there was no Loctite on those, so I put some of that on to make sure it works good. The other thing too is I've got the headset somewhat in here. This is the headset that comes with the top cap of the headset that comes with the bike. As you can see, it's got an opening here for where the cables come out. This is a integrated headset in that the cables all go through here. I know that's somewhat controversial. Some people don't like it, some people do. But I like the nice clean look, so I don't mind it. You can get this frame now where they'll drill the holes here on the side so you can route it the traditional way into your top tube, but I don't mind this. But what I did do is I upgraded to this nuke-proof headset. And the nice thing about this one is it's really not that much different, other than it's got a little bit better weather sealing here for all the different cables that you're going to come out. And then I did that just because I'm going to ride in the winter and that sort of thing. I want a little bit more protection from the rain and snow. Now I'm going to start the process of running the cables through the frame. So shifter, brake, dropper post, using these pull-throughs that came from the factory to get the derailleur cable and the rear brake up, down through the frame, up through here, and I'll fish it with a wire. I've already ran the cable for the LCD display through there, but I got to tackle the next ones. So now I pulled all the cables through the frame to the headset, and I'm ready to install the fork. This fork I picked up secondhand. It's a RockShox Yari, 160 milliliters. I've actually been riding this all summer on my hardtail, so it works pretty good, and the price was right. I'm gonna have to install a star nut into the headset, and I got this tool on Aliexpress, which makes it really easy to do. You just take the star nut, you thread it into this screw on it. And then you just stick this thing on top of it, and it automatically aligns it so you can't miss it, and hammer it in till it gets to the right depth. That's it, perfect depth for a star nut. Just take this out, unscrew it, and there you have it, a perfectly set star nut. So now I'm just going to lubricate the bearings, both the top of the headset and the big one that goes on the bottom here. Then I'm going to install this like little spacer thing that keeps the cables separated so when it spins they don't get tangled. And then I'll top it off with this nice chrome mag made in Canada. This is Whistler company, so a little bit of Canadian content on my bike. Now that the fork's installed, I'm going to be putting on the handlebar and all the controls for it. This handlebar here, I got it from Aliexpress. It's a carbon fiber raised face. I don't know how authentic that is, but I've used this before and they're pretty good quality. And I'm going for an SLX drivetrain on this. So again, I got it from Aliexpress. I'll put the links in the below. For brakes, I'm going to be using these ones. And they're 4-pot brakes. I'll talk about them when I install them. And finally, for the display on the Bafang, I'm going to have a choice of two. I have this one that is a full LCD display with Bluetooth, and it has a controller separately. And I have this minimalist one that basically it lights up and only shows you a bar graph for battery and assist level that you have. So I think for starters, I'm going to try out the full LCD display and see how that goes. So the cockpit is roughed in. It's looking really good. The headset is looking actually really good. You see how nice and smooth it goes with no cables being tangled. It really turned out quite well. Next, what I'm going to do is install the dropper post. And what I'm going to do is use one of these. It's an EXA form. Again, I got this off of AliExpress. These are super cheap. I run it on my other bike, and actually they work really well. For the price. I think it was $100 Canadian or something like that. It comes with a pretty cheap lever though, which isn't the best, this thing here. So what I find is if you run a really nice lever, like this is a P&W that has ball bearings and everything in it, the actuation is so much better, and it really is like a much higher end dropper post. One real nice design feature of this frame is that it has a pretty straight seat tube, no funky curves or anything like that. So you can actually stick a pretty long seat post in it. This is a 180 millimeter dropper post. So it goes in and, you know, no problem. I could fit a much longer one if I wanted to. So the dropper post's in, looking really good. Got the P&W lever and I put the seat on as well. Got that nice blue color scheme going here. Now to put in the drivetrain, I'm going to go with a 12-speed SLX system, so derailleur and shifter. The thing is with this bike is I have one of the earlier frames, and it comes just with a standard derailleur hanger here. But apparently the new rear triangles that they're shipping with the bike have a UDH, so a universal derailleur hanger, which is good because it'll accommodate the newer drivetrains that are coming out now. For brakes, I'm going to give these ones a go. They're called ILPRO E4s. I got them on AliExpress. They were really cheap. They were about $140 Canadian for the set. They get pretty good reviews, so I'm going to give them a try. They look good. They're all aluminum construction. They have 4-pot pistons, and apparently they use standard Shimano brake pads. These ones have fins on them. They come from the factory sealed like this, so filled with fluid. In fact, the rear one also comes filled, so it looks like that from the factory. And then the cable at the very end here is capped with a Phillips screw. So apparently you can put these together without having to bleed them. We'll see how that goes because it is filled with mineral oil in the tube and in the lever. So I guess it's just a matter of removing this plug, and there's a plug on here, putting the olive on here, and then screwing it in. And Fingers crossed that'll work. Worst case scenario, I'll just have to give them a good bleed after. I've chosen to go with a 203mm rotor in front and a 180 in the back. The bike has mounting points for a 180mm rotors in the back, so that's fine. This is a RockShox Yari fork that I'm going to be using, and the posts for this one is also support a 180mm rotor. So I'm going to have to use this adapter here to space it out, the brake caliper, so that'll fit this 203mm rotor. But before I do that, I'll go back in time and I'll show you how I mounted these tires and set up these rims. Because this is a budget build, I decided to order some wheels from China off of Aliexpress. These are Sunringo Duroc 35s, custom laced. I decided to go with a mullet setup, so completely custom, an alloy hub. I was able to pick the colors, all that stuff for approximately 375 Canadian. So that was about $240 shipped. And this is what the rear looks like. Really nice hub, 6-paw. And really that's including $45 tax duty. So $375 tax in, shipped to my door, custom built. Which comes out to about $280 US. So really nice, good bargain, I think. I chose to get the Duroc 35s, which I presume stands for 35mm, but if you measure the actual inner diameter of this, it comes out to, let's see, with the calipers, about 31.2, 31.3. So it's still wide enough for the type of riding I'm going to do on this bike. The hub itself comes in all kinds of different colors. It's called a Cruiser. I'm not sure which model it is, but I'll leave a link in the description below. It comes with your choice of free hub body. So I chose to go with Hyperglide, but for the same price you can get XD or Microspline or whatever. And it's a really nice sounding hub, 6-paw, and it just held in magnetically. So you just pull it off, and there you go. You can see the ratchet, the paws right in there, 6 of them. So really nice setup for the money. This being an e-bike, I decided to go with a full steel cassette rather than aluminum for durability. This is a Hyperglide cassette, but it is 12 speed, so it's an 11 to 50, and the brand is Sunshine. For the front wheel, I've chosen to go with a 203mm rotor, just to give me a little bit more bite on the front. So I'm going to mount them with these sort of blingy oil can rotor bolts. So now I'm just going to torque up the rotor bolts. I picked up this small torque wrench on Amazon. It's Amazon Basics. It's only 30 bucks, so it's a pretty decent little torque wrench for the money. I'll put a link in the description below. These rims came set up for tubeless already, so the rim tape's all set, ready to go for tubeless, so that's what I'm going to do. I also picked up these from Aliexpress, these tubeless valve stems, alloy. They're pretty nice. They're only like 10 bucks a pair, and that included all this stuff too. So that's like some valve cords, valve core remover, caps and stuff like that. So I'm going to go ahead and start setting this up for tubeless. Okay, so brakes all set up now, working nicely. The posts went on good, just had to use the little spacers on there. I also mounted the speed sensor for the motor, and that's what this little magnet right here is. It just mounts to the rotor bolts, and then it comes through on this side and passes on a sensor right there. I don't know if you can see that, but so that it passes by there and it can tell how fast it's going. So now we're ready to install the motor. This is the heart of the system, and this is the Bafang M820. So this is their new super lightweight yet decent powered motor. This thing actually puts out 75 Newton meters power, and it's really light and small. So it's kind of like a lightweight, but still packs a good punch. It's going to be mounted right in there. I do have a 720 watt hour battery in the down tube here. This thing's actually quite the monster. It slots in right there, and pretty much takes up this whole thing. It's really heavy. I was originally wanting the 410 watt hour battery from Bafang, but it was taking forever to ship, so I ended up with this one. It's quite heavy. I might DIY some lighter batteries in the wintertime, but for the meantime, that's what it's going to be. And I forgot to mention, this is a 36 volt system. So now the motor is mounted, everything's good. I put Loctite on the motor bolts to keep them nice and tight in there. I tested all the wiring, it works. The display comes on, the motor turns, all that's good. So the next step is to mount the chainring and crank arms. This comes with a spider like this, and mounted to it was a really heavy steel chainring, the Bafang one. So I replaced it with a Decus one. You can get these on Amazon or Aliexpress. I'll put some links in below. And it's all aluminum, and it's a fraction of the price of like a race face or something like that, and it really is just as good. So I put that on, and the next step will be to put it onto the motor, and it has these splines, so you just slip it on like that, and then it's held in place with this lock ring. The thing with this lock ring though is it's an ISIS spline, so you need a tool to do it, but I find that if you get a tool that's an ISIS one, or for Bosch, it looks like it'll fit, but it doesn't quite fit. So I have to use an angle grinder to do some crude machining down on here. So it just fits just a little, like 0.5 millimeter, all it needed to be shaved off the inside of these. And then it'll let me bolt that sucker on and tighten it up on the chainring. Then I'll be mounting the crank arms. So these are the ones that come from Bafang, and they're 170 millimeters. They're reasonably lightweight, they're not bad, but the thing is, with an Emtb, if you've ever ridden one, you probably want to go shorter than 170. 170 is fine if you're going downhill, just regular Emtb, but with the Emtb, because you're climbing a lot at high speeds usually, or higher speeds, you tend to hit the ground while you're spinning because of the long cranks. So I'll probably get some shorter ones like 155s or 160s, but this is all I got for now, so that's what I'm going to mount. So the cranks are now installed, same with the chainring. I also put in these nice 661 aluminum platform pedals, which I got off of Aliexpress. They're pretty cheap, so I'll put a link to those in below. So now all that's left to do is put the chain on, adjust my derailleur, and trim up the cables and whatnot. I'll also probably put this chainstay protector on there, and then we should be able to fire her up. So she's all done. Chain's on, derailleur is adjusted, everything fires up, cables are tidied, the display fires up and shows everything it needs to show. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on this head badge. I got this off AliExpress. I have no idea what extra is, but it's kind of cool. So I'm going to put that there just as a decoration, and that's going to create my bear theme on this. I also designed some decals here, so I'm going to put those on and we'll see how it looks. And there we have it, decals applied. That's the model number of frame, CEF50. Added some bear paws and a carbon fiber bottle cage, really light one, again from AliExpress, links in below. Let's go take this sucker out onto the trail and see how she rides. So there you have it. I just showed you how you can build an electric mountain bike with serious performance for a fraction of what companies like Trek or Specialized or Bea or any of those companies charge. Stay tuned. I'm going to do a full ride review. I'm going to break down how it rides, how it climbs, how to program it using the app, and maybe even take it to a bike park or something like that, see how it jumps, how it climbs. All of that will be coming up shortly. So stay tuned, hit the subscribe button, and you'll be notified when that video drops.